Citizens of the Reject Nation, we are in dark shadows today, because it was either that or a crap ton of noise. And we chose to go with slightly better audio for the purposes of this. John, I think we just saw cinema.
We just saw cinema.
What was the title of cinema?
This was Max Cinema Road. No, this was Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga.
And we saw it at Imax.
Mad Imax.
Because we love IMAX. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to tell you up front, I loved this movie so much. I have not talked about this movie with John for 1 second.
Nope.
I loved it, and for reasons that you are probably not expecting to hear. Reason why is because when you see the trailer for this, you're like, okay, yeah, I get it. Origins and more of the shit I love. It is so much more than that. It is so vastly different, but still a perfect companion piece to Mad Max Fury Road. I thought this was an excellent film, and I cannot wait to share with you the specifics as to why I loved it so much. Again, probably not what you're expecting of why. But John, what'd you think?
I mean, I'm still putting my brain back together, TBH. I mean, it's always a journey when you get to enter the Mad Max world. It's a symphony, obviously, of violence and insane, quirky characters and whatnot. But what I loved about this was that while certainly it had all the earmarks, it was a little bit different than I was expecting in a lot of fun and interesting and juicy ways. So I'm excited to get into it.
With Mad Max Fury Road, that is a very tight film where it is one of the big takeaways, the biggest character out of Mad Max Fury Road is not the actual, characters themselves. It's kind of the set pieces. It's kind of the action.
The infinite chase.
That's what everyone talks about with that film is the practical effects and the stunts. And you get all that here, but when those scenes are there in this one, it hits so different on a kind of darker emotional core level because this one it feels like a novel. I feel like a great way to see this movie is through the perspective of how George Miller said he crafted this one. If you guys ever see interviews that I once in a while do with an actor, I tend to ask the question of is there any history with this character that perhaps we did not see explored in the movie, but stuff that you crafted and generated? I love asking that question. I think it's a great actor's question. Come to find out, George Miller wrote this movie before Mad Max Fury Road because he wanted to have all the answers to Furiosa. He actually crafted the entire script, gave that to Charlize Theron, so that way she had the whole history. And that's what we're seeing on screen. For the long time, Anya-Taylor Joy's pitched front and center as Furiosa. I don't know how long it is. It's a very long time before you actually get to Anya-Taylor Joy as Furiosa because he is immersing you into the wasteland. You see things of Bullet Farm talked about in Fury Road, the gas town where Furiosa grew up,
the green place.
You hear the story about how she was kidnapped, and that's what this story is so focused on, is the psychological development of this kidnapped child and then watching as she is thrusted into servitude, and then you get all this exceptional world building. It feels more menacing, more dreadful, more unsettling, more horrific. I wasn't really there going, oh wow, this is so fun and exciting, because while there is exciting action scenes, it's kind of crazy to be watching a prequel to something where you know the fate of the character, yet you actually don't know where this movie's going for so much of it, because there's this level of certainty, but there's also so much of this level of uncertainty as you're watching it. So it's full of surprises in ways that are so much rich in narrative and drama that part of me is going, I wonder if people will actually accept this film because it's not this, non-stop action fiasco the way how the other one was. This spans a lot. It feels like a novel, this one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it does, involve a sort of chapter device, whereas Fury Road is oft described as one long chase scene broken up by a few dialogue scenes in between. This definitely punctuates the action in a different manner because there are those big set pieces. There are those gorgeous, stunning stunts and things like that. But Fury Road definitely feels like it is digging into lensing that with all of the up-close perspective possible, whereas here you are sort of in a slightly different beast that is a bit zanier in ways and is a bit more dialed into the maniacal personalities warring with each other throughout this landscape. And so certainly that does involve violence and action and driving and stunts. But yeah, this was way more twisted in like a personal way. That's sort of what makes the Mad Max universe so special and engrossing to me, is that even though, like you said, you know where Furiosa is bound to end up because we've seen Fury Road, there's something about this place, this world, and even akin to the prior Mad Max movies, it's like wheresoever you stride, probably some crazy, demented situation is taking place, and it's probably going to pull you into its gravity, and you're probably going to have to deal with that. And so much of Furiosa's journey feels like this spontaneous, twisted thing. The way it sells both the emotionality of that and the physicality of that, I thought was really gripping. And again, in a totally different way, in a way that breathes a bit more, in a way that is propulsive in a different sense. Fury Road's always kind of chugging forward, whereas this is kind of giving you a greater array of the weird political landscape of the Wasteland, and yeah, expounding on characters that we meet in Fury Road. And I feel like it's unique to the Mad Max films in that way as well, because so many of them are episodic, whereas this is a direct kind of expansion on a storyline within that world.
Yeah, some of my favorite scenes in this movie, like there's this fantastic scene with Chris Hemsworth and Immortan Joe that is not action at all, but man, is it gripping. Like there's a lot of scenes in here where you often don't hear that about Fury Road. You mainly just hear about the action being gripping and like, but of course complimentary towards the characters, but mainly it's the action set pieces. There's so many scenes in here where it's just performance based primarily, while still giving you like really cool visuals in there. The way I liken it is like Fury Road is capturing the energy of the paranoia frenzy that Max is going through in that movie, but with Furiosa being the main character here, it's kind of like the descent into more despairing consequences and situations as the film is going. So that's why the action hits differently on a different emotional level, where I found myself worried for other characters that they introduced here.
Oh, yeah.
But we got to talk about like Chris Hemsworth, man. This guy's either good at playing bumbling buff guys or sadistic psychopaths. He can fluctuate between the two so well, and I loved his portrayal here. His scene work and just how much fun he's having. It is madcap. He fancies himself to be more sophisticated than he actually is, but it's really powerful and scary and fun, and a wonderful addition to. I thought it was wonderful. I thought it was absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, and it's gratifying, especially having heard him talk recently about his experiences with the different Thor movies and stuff like that, and his career at large. I was very overjoyed for him because, you know, there are a lot of movies that he is great in as a character performer. I was thinking of like Bad Times at the El Royale in
Another
particular.
psychopath.
And here, again, like Mad Max is populated through every movie with bigger than life characters, but I love that this gave him a chance to, yes, embody all the physicality we know him for, but to completely make a role his own and to leave an impression based off of his, you know, acting chops, and beyond just the intensity, but the humor. Like there's a lot of like unexpected humor that happens throughout this movie, just because it is a ridiculous world that we're in, and it is, you know, sadistic, but also like everyone's kind of normalized to that, and so that creates different mundanities and things. And I thought the way that he embodied, again, this guy who fancies himself one thing and is clearly another thing, but not in a cartoony way or in a way that's, you know, too broad, I thought was really nicely pitched. And again, it seemed like he had free reign to make this character his own, but it fully fits within the world, and it makes great contrast to like an Immortan Joe or somebody who you do get the sense like can back up what they're talking, you know?
Yeah, and won't spoil too much because there are other characters from Fury Road, with this being a prequel and exploring more of the Citadel and characters that were in Fury Road. You get to hang out with them a little bit more, and a couple of new ones as well. And it even expands upon the Citadel to get you a deeper understanding of the intricacies of how the Citadel works. I'll say though, like when it comes to the action, I don't want to sound like I'm sliding it. Like there are set pieces in here that are just beautiful, and I feel like what he really captured, George Miller, that was beyond just great, exquisite, touchstones that we kind of come to expect with here, is infusing it with dramatic tension. Like there's this early on in the movie, there's this bike chase sequence that's maybe not, it's like not super fancy. It's more like a hunt bike chase scene.
Oh yeah.
And I was so gripped in it. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to love this movie because it's not even like crazily done, but it's so gripping.
It's the spontaneity of the action because, this one doesn't have quite as many of those like, oh my God, screenshot that, put it on a wall as big as you can. Like there are slightly less of those super picturesque beats, but the intensity and the spontaneity of like one action leads to another action and everyone's kind of figuring it out on the fly. That stuff generates the intensity and that stuff is absolutely here.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, and there are scenes and moments where you find yourself like, in blockbuster brain mode predicting what might happen, and it never quite goes that way, and it always feels a little bit more real. And so while this is a vibier and a more tonal movie in terms of character exploration,
way more character-driven,
this still has that action punch, and there is always a sense that we're going to need to move and we're going to need to strike throughout.
I guess the movie I would compare it the most to is if you've seen The Raid and The Raid 2, because The Raid is like a tight action movie that takes place in this one little time frame.
Yeah,
and then
very
Raid 2
linear.
is like this expansive, character-driven, dark, unsettling drama.
You're looking across the whole landscape.
But they still got the action.
Yeah, totally.
And the action hits different because of what's surrounding it. It's less cheering. Like you want to applaud because of craftsmanship, but not cheer in the same way you would in the prior movie. Anya-Taylor Joy. Like while I appreciate that the movie really takes its time before you actually get to Anya-Taylor Joy, and I did understand the choice as experiencing the movie with why you would cast someone who looks significantly younger for Furiosa, because to demonstrate the journey of her as youth. Because this movie literally starts off where she's like a little girl, and it spends a lot of time. Like I don't know who that actress is that plays really young Furiosa. But the movie spends a lot of time with her.
Because the Mad Fury Road, I should say, not the first one, but Fury Road is like 3 days or something, and then this is way more swaths of time.
Yeah, and I think Anya-Taylor Joy, I think she does have great presence. Her voice, I feel like she was channeling Charlize Theron.
Totally,
her specific accent.
That like soft but seething delivery, that very calculated delivery.
Yeah, and I feel like in Fury Road you get a little bit more of like you actually can see the tethering. Like a lot of actors they'll call it like prior moments, the history that led to this moment. And you see how this is all the history and lineage that led to when you see Charlize Theron.
Without being gimmicky about it. Like, oh, you're alone, you're Han Solo. It doesn't do that kind of thing.
Yeah, like you get a more sympathetic, softer side for reasons explored in this movie that I thought was really strong, and I really liked Anya-Taylor Joy's performance a lot. There is some linkage parts that this movie does that you would expect in leading into Fury Road that kind of did make me go, well, if you're going to go that far, I mean, why didn't you get Charlize? There was that part, but I'm not going to. I was emotionally invested in Furiosa. I didn't expect to be concerned for a character that I was like, well, I know and like even some of the beats that you expect, like about her arm, eventually she's going to lose that because you've seen Fury Road. Yeah. And the way they go into it, I'm like, oh, what a surprise. Like I could say that, I'd be like, you might not even see when it comes, because I did it.
Yeah. And that's a great example of something where they take an origin-y moment, but they really earn the moment that explains how that came to be. And it's striking. It's something you're not going to forget.
Yeah. And the editing is as amazing as always, again, because of the kind of different movie it is. It's paced differently. You explore a lot more in this film. Tom Hulkenborg's score, I would say, in the last movie is a little bit more resemblant of, the kind of like the heavy metal
It's a little more cool, whereas this one it's a bit more textural.
It's more Hans Zimmer-y, percolating dread, as John would say. There's a lot more of that drum of like something bad's going to happen.
Yeah, that this movie, dread tone.
Because this movie's like not slow. It's slower compared to the last movie
because it's just less nonstop action, so it feels like it's moving more gradually. But there's always something, and they're always taking time between whatever expository thing or whatever action thing to also just have these weird little poetic moments that completely complement the world and the tone of the story.
Yeah, it's icky, macabre,
beautifully
sinister,
shot,
unnerving, beautifully shot. I loved it. It's like a toss-up between this and Dune Part 2. I feel like it's this one for me. I want to see it again. I saw Dune 2 3 times, so it's easy for me to say that, but I want to see it again.
And I want to see this again, absolutely, because I think this is like the first Mad Max. This is a movie I think or the Fury Road. This is a movie that will.
I would say this feels a little more akin to kind of the earlier Mad Max movies in tone.
Sure, and in fitting with both of the implications of that, the harshness, the grittiness, but also some of the quirkiness.
I kind of forget about that. We spent so much time talking about Fury Road. I was like, oh yeah. Yeah, this feels more like the actual original Mad Max.
And
films.
now that we've had a couple people play Max, like it seems actually less hard to adjust to that a couple people have played Furiosa now, even though we aren't as removed
it's 3 people now,
in time. But yeah, it's like as compared to the previous movie, like there's the initial impact because of all the action. I think is a little bit more defined, but that makes me more excited to go back and watch this again to see what themes and other things come up in the rewatching.
But yeah, guys, I thought this might be my favorite movie of the year.
I can't wait to watch it again.
Everyone stayed through the credits patiently out of respect.
Yes,
you
they
rarely
did.
see that
They
because
did.
it's like this is film.
This is cinema, and it's giving you a bunch of fun, exploitable elements while also being thoughtful and lyrical and about more than just that.
Please, I encourage you to go watch this in the theaters. Watch an IMAX with a
Watch it
beautiful
big.
picture and that sound. It is definitely probably the most prime way you can watch this film. Yeah, like a 10 out of 10 for me.
10 out of
I was like 10 out of 100 for
That's
a
a
compliment,
1.
and then I was like,
That's
wait,
a
that is
1
an
out of
insult,
10.
and that is downgrading the experience. No, this is like
10 out of 5.
This is seriously an amazing film, and I cannot wait to go watch it again. I really can't.
Likewise. Witness.